everybody. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Well, now,
It's that big.
is it even on? Oh, can you hear me? Okay, good. Welcome to our Chapter 651 resident meeting, being brought to you from the Longwood Room and from Channel 3 for those who are watching at home. My name is Ann Blair. I serve as Council Emerita on the current resident council, and I'm speaking in Basil Flum's absence. Basil tested positive the other day, and he's on about his third day of antibiotics at home, and this is with COVID. He sounds good on the phone. He's getting better every day. He's coming up with some emails, so I know he's not totally out of it. And Basil, Dodie, hello to you. To my knowledge, Dodie has been unaffected by this so far, and we're glad of that. So we're hoping for a speedy recovery there. I'll go through, as I used to do, with our new residents to welcome and remembrances, and then we'll turn over to Joey to do his report first, and then I'll get back to the council doings of that Basil had slides of. First of all, the new residents, we have Jim and Cindy Zarn in Building E as of May 6th. As of May 21st, we have Arlena Faircloth in Building B. As of June 4th, Jay Matalewski in Building F. And this morning, I met Diane Myers, who's closing today, moving into D212. And I believe she's closing at 11 a.m. She knows practically everybody in Village on the Green already, so she'll be among friends, but we welcome her too. I don't believe any of those newcomers are here today. If they are, welcome. Who's here?
Jay.
Jay, well there you are. Well, welcome back. We're happy to have you today. Really happy to have you. Now, in remembrances, of course, Al Porter, whose celebration of life was last Saturday. I'll get back to Al and his, in his name, etc. afterwards. But now, let's turn to our executive director, Joey, who will give the 651 report.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I feel like we have a light crowd. Hopefully that's more of you watching from home. If you are unable to see the slides, I do have them posted to Touchdown to follow along with. So I've got quite a few slides, it being the 651 a little extra in here. So we'll go ahead and just move right along. But as always, feel free to stop me if you have questions. So I always go back to the balanced scorecard from last year into this year for our team. This is kind of our guiding path, is that we need to ensure we're addressing issues as a result revolves around team members, customers, you, the residents, occupancy and financial, and then we have the various metrics within each one that we track and follow throughout the year. So starting off with our financial update, just a little segue, I had mentioned that we might be at a point where this might be getting compressed. I think that actually might happen next month, so I might end up doing 2 months next presentation, doing May and June. So that means, that kind of the information becomes a little bit more relevant, because right now we're kind of an extra month behind here with the way the financial statements are processed here. So looking at revenue, this is kind of broken out by level of living, and it looks at our first column is the actuals, the second column is the budget, and then the third column is the variance. You'll see here that home health and skilled nursing had positive variances, meaning they exceeded their revenue projections, and they continue to do well both from a caseload perspective for home health and in skilled nursing from an occupancy perspective, bless you, and also that average daily reimbursement that you get there as well. AL continues to do well there. You'll see the negative is independent living. Remember, there's two things that kind of go into that. One obviously is occupancy, but there's also that budget error that's in here. and that error is the miscalculation of the resident discount. And that hits us $70,000 a month, every month for the rest of this year. And that's just something that unfortunately we have to carry that was involved in that process. So of that 131, 70 of it is that budget miss. And then the rest is related to IL occupancy being a little bit lower than budgeted, and also move-ins. Remember, we get that 5% processing fee every time someone moves in. Well, if we have fewer people move in than budgeted, we miss on that processing fee there. So that makes up that 131. Despite that, overall we were ahead by $28,000 for the month on revenues. This is a simplified version. If you remember, this really used to be an eye chart because I used to include year to date and all of that. We just kind of simplified it a little bit, and hopefully that's a little bit more digestible. Same for expenses, same format, by level of living, the actual expense, the budgeted expense, and then the variance. You'll see home health and skilled nursing were above budget. Home health, that comes with the caseload. When their numbers go up, they have to bring in the labor to support that. So that's when we look to make sure that basically the profitability of it maintains, that we're not diluting, we're not bringing in all this caseload and spending a whole bunch of money on OT. So we do look at that, but they're ahead on expenses, and then skilled nursing as well. When your Medicare A census is up, that's an all-inclusive service, so your medications, your nursing, your labs, your x-rays, all of that kind of goes up with it. So you just want to make sure that your revenue correlates with that rise in expenses. A couple areas that we're under, community-wide. Part of that is the our change over from Allied Security to our in-house services. So that's starting to bear some dividends there right out of the gate. And overall labor management, we've been doing a pretty good job of keeping a tight rein on our expenses here. So overall for the month, we had a positive net operating margin of $75,000, which beats the budgeted NOM of $60,000 by $15,000. So we had a good April. Overall, still just in the red for the year, because we had a pretty rough January, but every month we've been kind of dialing in more and more, and we'll hopefully see here in a short order about May if we've continued that as well. Now, kind of going forward in the year, obviously you've gotten notice about that 2.1% rate reduction. And there were some concerns about, hey, okay, so revenues are going to be going down 2.1%. What about the expenses? Yes, that's an offsetting. So because the expense is not there, that's why the revenue is being adjusted by that 2.1%. So I'm not losing any sleep over that adjustment, and hopefully your wallets are breathing a little bit easier with that once that kicks in here. Occupancy, so these numbers are as of, I don't want to say today, they're as of yesterday, because we do have a closing, as Ann mentioned, going on right now. And actually I think that closing will finally bring us over the 80% barrier we've had for so long. So as of last night, we were 79.77%, so 209 of 262 occupied. From an attrition perspective, we've had 10 residents leave so far, and we have an additional 5. So either they've passed or they've given notice. So that kind of puts us around 15. Our projection for the year, the goal is to be below 29. So we're tracking right about to that. From a sales perspective, we've had 9. For the year, we have 5 more on the books. One of the closings today is in that 5. So we're feeling pretty good, kind of where we are for June right now. We have that lofty goal of 48 for the year. So we're going to see about, we have a big powwow down in Delray for all of the LifeSpace sales teams to get together and kind of take a look at the past 6 months and see where we've been and what we need to do about the kind of coming 6 months to be able to close 24 on a strong note. Team member updates. So Rebecca Gonzalez, our sales assistant, she's no longer with us, so we are recruiting for that position. Executive chef, worst kept secret, George is coming back to us. He will be Monday, June 24th is his first day back on the job, so we're excited to have him back into the fold. Heather Schmidt, she begins July 3rd. She is our IL outreach coordinator. So that is in the sales department. They're really responsible for that professional affiliations. Christina Naughton had been doing that role the past few months, but she's heading back to Orange County Public Schools. So we wish her well and then are excited about Heather coming on board. Xavier continues to hold down the housekeeping role for us. And we're looking for a sales assistant, IL sales counselor, and the health center billing specialist. Those are all kind of positions that are out there that we're looking for the right fit. We're not looking just for anybody, so we're taking our time on those, and those are kind of the areas that we're looking right now. Overall, just a comment on job market. I'd say we're doing pretty well. When we have frontline openings for nurses aides, we're having a pretty good pick of folks to choose from. Now, some of the more specialized positions are a little bit more challenging. I think that's employers trying to do their best to hang on to some more specialized skill sets. But overall, things seem to be going okay on the job market right now. A through F window replacement. So A is really wrapping up. We have a few windows that were either broken or mismeasured that are on order for those final units to get wrapped up. Doing a lot of trim, stucco and paint in A. B, I think we're almost done there, so they'll be moving to the paint, trim, stucco phase. C, the windows came in on Monday. They've started with vacant units in C building. I just got the schedule for next week, so that'll be going out for all of our C building residents. They're gonna, you'll notice they're doing 2 a day for really the first 3 days of the week. We're leaving a little bit more room because of the rain to kind of potentially move things around. So still continuing to move forward with that work, but building in a little bit more room in the schedule for moving things around if the weather throws a curveball at us like it did this week. D, buildings are on order. The vendors started working on the trim, just doing a little pre-painting, pre-priming of the trim. And then E and F, we're actually, Jose and I are working, crunching numbers to see how we can get that moved into 2024 from a cost perspective instead of, obviously January 1st, everybody's prices goes up. So if we can beat that, we can save a little bit of money. And so we're working on trying to squeeze that through. Projects in the pipeline, landscaping. We've gotten the approval on these 3 landscaping projects, which is to address the drainage on the backside of Green Trail, address the walkway to nowhere between A and B, and then address issues out in front of the Oaks entrance. We did get a request for a civil engineer to weigh in on the drainage aspect to make sure that what we're doing, we're not going to create any additional problems. So we're working our way through that. The engineer did relay that he's going to have something to us here in pretty short order. So once we have that, I think we'll be able to proceed with letting the vendors go, and then we'll have a good timeline on when this work will occur. Sidewalk replacement, this is for the back side from F all the way to the clubhouse, taking all of that out and putting in a new sidewalk there. That's been approved. We're just waiting for a timeline from our vendor as to when they can get that work scheduled. And then we'll communicate that out. That will include, once the sidewalk's in, irrigation work. You're gonna break a lot of sprinkler heads. We're widening the paths, so we're gonna have to adjust that. We'll have to do some grading. There's been some washout. There's areas where the sidewalk's a little bit above grade. And then we'll need to place some sod there, and then we're also adding some pathway, low voltage lighting kind of all the way around from F to A along that pathway, so that should be nice, in the evening, both walking and also looking out of your home on those water facing areas. The entryway project, so this is a support center project. The Seminole County's come back and said permit won't be issued until July, so they're kind of waiting on that. They have Sports Center is working on narrowing down which contractor is going to do that work. So I kind of remain on pins and needles on timeline and finalized scope and all of that. So there seems to be some movement, but I don't think I'll have a good update for you until July once those permits are issued. Building A through F, just some updates, elevator service. So we have jumped through all the hoops and issued our cancellation of the Otis service agreement for non-performance. So they have that in hand. We are waiting to see if they're going to challenge that or if they're going to go quietly into the night, but we have vetted 4 elevator service companies to take their place. So we're kind of narrowing down. We won't enter into a formal agreement with any one of them until the Otis issue is officially put to bed. So I think that'll probably be another 30 days before we have kind of a formal announcement. Of the 4, there are 2, Orlando Elevator Service and Nouveau of Florida, both elevator service companies that have come, highly recommended, and I think we're going to try and steer away from the TKs and the Otis and whatnot, and go with a local vendor. So we'll see how that goes. Call box replacement. Jose and I kind of went down the path of, okay, what does a new call box system look like? It's a cellular-based system. The more we got into the weeds about how this works, from a reliability perspective, from a cost perspective, it just started to really balloon. So now we're kind of retreating back and saying, well, can we just get CenturyLink to just run new, good old plain old telephone system lines and utilize the system that we have? There are 2 boxes down that are down because of speaker issues, so we should have those fixed up here in short order. So we're still doing some Band-Aid repairs in the short order, but in the long run, we're still looking to see what we can do that will more robustly improve the performance of those call boxes at the buildings. Chairlift replacement. Don't really have good news on this one. So fire marshal and building inspector have both said, basically they're not going to be the ones to approve a variance for the lifts that are in place. Our concern is if we push it too much, they're going to say, look, those need to come out. So we're kind of in limbo. We're not entirely sure what's the best kind of path forward here. We're going to obviously continue to work on and maintain the lifts that we have. We are we have those mobile lifts on site for the Oaks for assisted living for that 2nd story portion. So kind of the backup plan is if those lifts ultimately have to come out or they become obsolete, we cannot repair them. The mobile lift is going to be kind of our backup response to how we provide that service. I wouldn't say we're completely defeated on this yet, but it's not looking too good with both of those entities kind of looking at us going, you shouldn't have this and they shouldn't be allowed. So it's kind of where we are at with that. I'm going to jump into engagement survey. So this is the eye chart, right? You're going to be squinting. You're not going to be able to read all this. I share this with you so that you can go back and pull it. I'll have printed copies of this so you can go through it. It's on Touchdown already. So you can look line by line and see the exact percentages. But I want to kind of guide you through a little bit about what we're looking at and also how to read it. So there's an NPS. We talk a lot about that. That is the Net Promoter Score. That is really one question. It's not the summation of the whole survey. It is literally one question. It's the likelihood to recommend as a great place to live. Okay, and how NPS is calculated. So you have a 1 to 10 scale. If you score that question as a 9 or a 10, yes, I would recommend this as a great place to live. You're considered a promoter. If you scored a 7 or an 8, you're a passive. And then if you're 6 and below, you're a detractor, okay? And that's just the idea of that, like if you were asked that question in public, you'd say, no, I don't recommend Village on the Green as a place to live. What they then take is they take the percentage of your promoters, so the people who said 9s and 10s, and subtract the percentage that were detractors, the 1 to 6. And that's your NPS score. So for Village on the Green, we were a 43. The goal for a life space is a 51, okay? And 51 is considered best in class. These results are specific to Village on the Green. life space as a whole, averaging all of the communities, was a 50.5. So they fell short of their goal of 51, by half a point, but they fell short nonetheless. Village on the Green was a 43. This squiggly line here shows kind of from inception of September 2021, how our community's NPS score has been. So we started out 29, we moved to a 40, down to a 33, a 39, and now a 43. So slowly kind of some incremental improvements there, but as we get into culinary here and I talk to you about the task force, really for us to get to kind of the vaunted 51 best in class, that work's going to have to happen in culinary. But I'll talk about some of the other areas as well. So that's our NPS score. Any questions about that? And this is all levels of living. So this is independent, skilled nursing, assisted, memory care as done by family members. So now the other questions. Those are that kind of I agree, strongly agree, kind of neutral, disagree, strongly disagree. So if you break that into a 5-point scale. Green is a 4 or a 5. I agree or I strongly agree. The gray bar is the number 3. That's your neutral response. And the blue bar, that's your negative response. That's a strongly disagree, disagree. That make sense? So what this graph intends to do is for each question, how many greens, how many neutral, how many blues, okay? And it ranks it. So it sorts all of the questions into categories. So this category you're looking at here is culinary, all of the culinary questions. And the first one at the top is overall, I'm satisfied with my culinary experience. 68% said it was favorable, 11% were neutral, 21% were negative, okay? And then each question below that, it doesn't show the percentages on here, but you can kind of ballpark it based on the scale at the bottom as to how many were favorable, how many not. And it ranks it from best performance. So at the top there, the dining rooms are clean and well maintained was the highest ranked question there. And then the lowest ranked one at the bottom is meals usually arrive in a timely manner. That was well below 50%. So you can kind of see through all the culinary questions. Now you'll see the most number of questions, worst performing in all the areas. So for us to get to a 51, ultimately that work's going to happen here in culinary, right? We'll talk about the other areas briefly and then kind of our action plan. So this talks about team members as a whole, the questions that were asked of you about team members. Highest performing, they treat me with courtesy and respect, 92% agreeing. The worst performing was they provide appropriate amount of communication, 74% agreeing. Maintenance, 3 questions there. Lowest performing there, overall, I'm satisfied with the communication related to my maintenance request. I'm picking these out because I kind of come back to why we're going to be focusing on some of these areas. Lifestyles overall did fairly well in the 80s. One question, 76%, and that was the current lifestyle program has positively impacted my happiness and well-being. Now, I cover the negative stuff with you, but I also want to say that when we share this with the team members, we do also push, hey, here's what the residents are saying you're doing really well. Because I have a habit from a management perspective of like, here's what we have to fix, here's what we have to fix, but that can often be too negative. So I just want you to be aware we do cover what you share in terms of your comments that are really positive and the questions that they score really well. But with you, I'm just covering, hey, this is what we're going to be working on, and here are the areas where you scored the lowest. From healthcare needs, this one I struggle with a little bit because healthcare needs to the independent living population differs very differently from when you ask someone who's in skilled nursing or assisted living. So, what I can do in the back end is I can break it up by level of living, and in general, independent living residents score very well. But this is where, for a skilled nursing resident, this probably, how do you interpret it? This is probably the CNA you meet every day. This is the nurse you meet every day. The medications, the physician, the therapist, and things like that. So there's a lot of nuance in this one, but overall we've seen in independent living, this actually used to be rated very low, and over the past few years it has moved up quite a bit. So kind of what comes of all of this information? We're focusing on three things. First is culinary. Obviously, I kind of talked about how much it's weighted and how it's kind of ranked the lowest. And rather than me just pick the bottom performing question and say, okay, meals are not arriving to temp, and just fixing that and you know saying, all right, we fixed it and we move it on. I don't think that that's gonna really meaningfully improve our score. So going a little out of my comfort zone, we're gonna do a task force, and we're gonna pull residents, team members, Unidine together. From a resident perspective, yes, we're gonna loop in the culinary committee because of that knowledge and understanding that they have. But we're gonna pull in some other committees, finance, because a lot of culinary is driven by finance. We also have residents that have had distinguished careers in culinary, either from a food supply, from a restaurant perspective, so we're gonna tap into that. You know, Mark and myself are gonna be involved, but we also wanna get a couple of the frontline servers involved. Basically just kind of all stakeholders, everybody who gets kind of roped into culinary, let's bring us all together. And what I would like is that we utilize the framework of the questions to say, all right, here are the questions ultimately we're gonna measure ourselves against from a performance perspective. But I also wanna go through a process to say, what do residents really mean by this, you know? Is it the temperature of the coffee? Is it the temperature of the entree? Is it both? What do we really mean? What are we really trying to solve for? Also, to talk solutions, because you know what I may be thinking as a solution might be very different from what you may be thinking as a solution. Talk through that, and then also get that buy-in on, okay, here's what we're gonna do to try and address these areas. But we also need that task force to be the champion too, of relaying that communication back, saying, hey, this is what they're looking at, this is what they're working on, this is why we're doing it, and yes, it's working, or no, it's not, and we're gonna have to go back and tweak what we're trying to do here. Ultimately, is this gonna be done by the time we do our next survey? No, probably not. I think this is something that's gonna take many, many months to work at. But my gamble is, hey, if you see this and you are hearing the conversation and maybe we're moving the needle on a couple of things, that gives you the trust in, yes, the process is working, we're starting to see meaningful things, and this is how we're gonna improve our culinary program in a meaningful, lasting way. So what that looks like, I'm gonna set some meetings up here. And really, like when I say task force, yes, there's gonna be a body of kind of like the main meat and potatoes kind of committee, but I really intend this to be open as well. So if you have an interest, whether it's passing or passionate, there's gonna be an opportunity for you to be there and involved as much as you wanna be. It might mean for some really long meetings where we wanna bang our heads against the wall, but I feel like we kinda gotta go through that process to kind of come to a state where we're all on the same page with feeling positively about that program. From a maintenance perspective, Jose and I have talked, we have a pretty good idea of what we want to do that I think will address the pain points you've been establishing, you know, for a long time. And I think it's a little simpler than a culinary perspective. You know, residents have expressed, hey, I want to know that you got my work order. I want to know when you're coming. I want to know if it wasn't resolved, when it's going to be resolved. It's that communication of where am I and the big talk of things. We have started realigning resources, and it started with team members and moving some folks around. Those things kind of have to finish playing out, and then we've got our next stage set up. But really, we're going to essentially create a point person, starting with plant, that's going to be responsible for that customer service experience. You know, whether it's a housekeeping issue, whether it's a maintenance issue, security, that's your go-to person, and that's who's going to be responsible for bring that information in, but also relay that out and make sure that residents are up to date throughout their journey of that work order. So as we firm that up, you'll definitely get more information on what that effort looks like. But just once we get past some of the team member issues, then I can speak more specifically about what we're doing there. Communication, for me, I feel like if we address issues within culinary, if we address issues in maintenance, we're addressing communication, because oftentimes that's where a lot of your frustration about communication comes from. Also, I look at communication as what can I do better, and then also what can team members do better. So I think part of for the team members is a kind of a customer service training, and that is when you bring concerns, how are those concerns relayed, how are they addressed, how are they followed up on, how is it communicated back to you? And then I think for me, you know, it's a timeliness, it's an appropriateness of the communication. You know, I think we're doing a little bit better at some of the bigger things, but then, you know, when it comes to water shutoffs in a building, or when it comes to why did the power go out, I don't know that we have an immediate, hey, we know about it, don't worry, we're fixing it, it's been resolved, here's what happened. I think if we can do a better job with that, I think people will feel more comfortable saying, you know what, I understand what's going on, issues happen, but they're at least, you know, working the process here. That's a lot of information on that, and I'm about to leave the topic, so I'll stop here for questions.
Joey, can I get a copy for the culinary committee of the culinary survey?
Mm-hmm. Yes, I'll get that too.
Okay.
And you know, whiz-bang software is really great, but it's hard to share it in like paper. So I'll give you the graphs,
That's what
and then honestly, if there's like something like, oh, I wish I could see it this way, that way, I can do that. I just kind of, you tell me what you need to see, and then we'll run it.
Okay, I want to see that graph.
Sure. Yes, ma'am. We can do that.
Joey, I think one of the problems with communication is getting to make reservations, cancel reservations, place an order.
Mm-hmm.
I understand that eventually we will be going online
Mm-hmm.
to be able to make reservations,
Mm-hmm.
place an order.
Yep.
When do you think that'll take place?
So the order system is up and running right now. We need to test it out a little bit, but it'll essentially be with some guinea pigs to put in some orders and test that everything's working.
Yeah.
Because I anticipate, anybody ever use Uber Eats or DoorDash, something like that? Well, when you go to put an order in, every little detail's gotta be right. So from, if you're ordering a steak, to the computer has to be correctly programmed to say, what is the temperature? What is the sauce? Is it on the side? And there's a lot of little details, and we've got the whole menu in there now. I think we've got it set up correctly, but I know there's gonna be issues. Like, you're gonna go order your steak, and on the menu it's gonna say broccoli, but in the computer there's no broccoli. I know that's gonna be there. So before it goes completely in the wild and you're all using it, you're gonna get really frustrated if there's a lot of those issues. So I need some guinea pigs to essentially go through that and be willing to say, you know what, Joe, I tried to order sweet potato and it wasn't there, you know?
You will be having some kind of classes once that gets on.
Yes, yes. We'll do classes similarly to how we did the resident portal for the points. It's the same app actually, but we're gonna go, you know, make sure you can log in, you've got your username, your passwords, kind of how I did just one by one going in through a room. We're just gonna set up some times like that. But I also wanna make sure we've tested it a little bit before I start training you. Because I know if I start training and we come across more issues, that just gets frustrating for everybody. And then in terms of reservations, I have to touch base with Mark on where we are with that process. Open Table's in place, we're using it internally. I know it's the external portion that we have to activate, so that's the portion that you would go in and be able to use Open Table and book your own table. So I'm not sure where we're at with that.
Joey, I want to go backwards a little bit.
Mhm.
In one of your prior, before we got to the Net Promoter Score,
Mm-hmm.
you said that LifeSpace had applied for the permits for the entryway project.
Mm-hmm.
Have we ever seen the final plan for the entryway project?
So we've seen the final plan per se, and that was also where you know, we kind of said, look, even the updated version of the guard tower is not acceptable. So they went back and then they went through a couple iterations and came up with the clock tower concept. So the permits that they've applied for is the modified guard tower and all of it, and then they have to go back as an addendum and do the modified clock tower. So that whole permit process is what, the initial permit is what Seminole County is saying will not be, essentially, it won't have completed its journey at Seminole County until July. And then we have to go back and do the addendum to that. So there's some, and in terms of what that looks like, I can pull, I think Darren's presentation is on Touchtown under the community entryway tab. and that's the most recent one. It doesn't have the clock tower, but it's the one that's in for permitting right now. Does that answer your question, Mindy?
Sort of, because I think there were a lot of people who were not really fond of the clock tower either, so apparently it doesn't matter, we're gonna get it.
So, I'm gonna tiptoe the line here a little bit. From a support center perspective, there were 2 rounds of resident input, and I think that was, at some point, someone drew a line and said, we're moving forward. Now, the 2 things that came out of that last round were the extent of the sidewalks around the ponds and the clock tower. Well, guard tower, which is now a clock tower. I don't know what the sidewalk answer is yet either, so that's kind of where I go, let me see what comes out from that second permit, to be able to even tell you what they ultimately settled on. Joy? Sorry, I've got the mic running around now, yeah.
Getting back to your task force, as building rep, I hear a lot of detailed issues about food points, service, etc. Will your task force be looking for all this information? Because I know the culinary committee doesn't want to hear any complaints.
So, I kind of go back to, yes, we're going to gather that information. And part of my, if in your professional careers, you've been in those conferences where you walk in and there's a giant Post-it note all over the place, and they basically put you in a corner and they're like, all right, your question is this, write down every single issue ever. We'll go through a process like that. But ultimately for me, there has to be some kind of structure to this. And I think the structure can evolve, but my kind of initial iteration is we've got the guidance of the questions that were being asked on the resident engagement survey. So how can we take all of this feedback, all of these issues, and put them into those categories? And then we need to prioritize those categories as to what we're going to focus on. And then even within those, what are the issues? So we're going to want to know all of the issues around meal temp. And that meal temp could mean to-go meals temperature. It could mean the coffee temperature. It could mean it could mean a whole host. So it's which temperature issue are we going to start working? And not to say we won't work the others, but how are we going to prioritize that? Because ultimately, there's a small, mighty group that has to kind of pull all of this off. But what we choose to focus on is really going to be the task force. So we'll pull all that information and try and work our way through it. Mike's over there. Yep. Les?
Yeah, thank you, Joey. The people in this community have a wide range of skills as far as the computer is concerned. Are you going to have any resident beta testers go through this open menu system that you're going to have?
Mm-hmm. I've got a couple volunteers that we're going to work with, and obviously if you're interested in being a volunteer as well, happy to have you. But yeah, I mean, ultimately it's just going to, unless we just have to use the system, find the bugs,
Right.
and eliminate them and then move forward. Yep.
Thank you.
Yesterday, I think it was, we saw the air conditioning unit for the kitchen
Mm-hmm.
being removed and replaced.
Mm-hmm.
Was that a bad unit, or had it not been included when we did all the
That's a good question.
construction?
So when we did all of the construction, unfortunately, only one of the units was brand new, replaced. So the existing units, which are all now 15 years old, are up there. And shockingly, 15 years of AC working in Florida, it starts to go. So if you even remember last year, we had issues with the dining room, and we had been patching those units together. What we did then was we put in orders for new replacement units, and unfortunately, especially with Carrier, they're great units, immense demand for them, built in South Carolina. It's an 18-month lead time on some of their units. So we have 2 units that have arrived that are replacing, actually they really supply the dining room, the kitchen, and the storeroom. So those are being replaced. Now, when they went to go put it in, they found they had the wrong curb size, so they had to bring it back down, order a new curb. So we now have spot coolers in the kitchen because they hit almost 90 degrees in there yesterday. So, but yes, once the curb is in, they'll have brand new ACs in there. You know, Jose and I have talked about going forward. Our plan is really, you know, in this building at least, every year a couple of the units have to get replaced, and that way you also spread it out, so you don't have, you know, at some point 15 years ago someone said, hey, all brand new ACs. Immense cost, but also they all go bad at the same time too, so if we can kind of spread them out a little bit. So yes, we're working through that. The other issue here in this building is the controls, you know, the thermostat's working, not working. I think in a couple weeks, Jose, do we have a date on that yet? The new thermostats?
For the thermostat, we're probably about another 2 weeks out.
So we're probably 2 weeks out from the new control system going in to actually allow us to control the temperatures in the rooms. Because right now it's chaos with these energy efficient systems. They're just not, either it wasn't installed right, it's not the right equipment, it's too many different vendors trying to. We've got Farron coming in, ripping it all out, putting a brand new control system in. And we'll let you have some reasonable, you know, when you've got Sweating with Helen in here, you'll be able to drop it a reasonable amount. And when you've got Bridge, you'll be able to raise it a reasonable amount. So a couple more weeks until we have that squared away.
Is there a timeline for getting air conditioning in the group workout room in the back of the?
So that's a new curveball that came our way. I want to say that's up for replacement as well.
It's between the unit and also the controls for that area.
So that one has two issues. There's a problem within the unit, and the controls are not working well either.
4 to 6 weeks, 8 to 12.
Well, the controls we should have some improvement on. I think we're looking at 2 weeks out because it's been about 6 weeks, and they said 6 to 8 weeks. So we should be about 2 weeks out. And Farron's pretty good about following through with their timelines when they give them to us. I'm not sure. I'll follow up with Jose on the issue within that unit. Can't remember. Yes.
Joey, I'm disappointed that I don't hear anything about that beautiful plan for the improvement of the maintenance entrance. I love that plan, and it really looks horrible now.
So that plan did move forward with the porte-cochere. So the entryway project that's in for permitting, that we're waiting to hear back from in July, that scope of work is the porte-cochere and the maintenance yard. Yeah. So that did move forward. We're just, when that's gonna happen, I'm not 100% sure, but that did move forward. And we've seen plans on what that one looks like, because they actually asked us what we wanted and what we needed, and so we've seen plans on the surface yard, and that will, you know, pull that brick wall back, it will hide the entrance to it, and it puts that new automated gate in there. It adds a little like metal barrier to the top of the brick wall, so you don't have quite as much of a line of sight in there. Mark and the culinary team have been emptying out that storage unit, that shipping container, so that thing should be leaving here pretty soon, hopefully never to return. It's full of raccoons at this point. I think that's who owns it. Yeah. At night when it's done, woo, it's a party out there. It's their service yard. Yes. But yes, that's moving forward. I digress. Yes, Linda.
Have we ever looked at the percentage of the meals that are prepared here that are to-go meals as opposed to the meals that are served in the dining room?
That's a good question. Yes, I'll tell you, Mark and I are painfully aware of that. So, part of that Unidyne contract, to-go paperware is paid directly by Village on the Green. So I watch that like a hawk, and we do a lot of to-go, And you look at pre-COVID, very little. COVID, obviously, everybody. And then coming out of COVID, there was a cohort that came back, and then there's the cohort that just stayed. 3 meals a day, running that out of to-go. So we've got really good numbers on that. That's also one of those things of, if you solve all the issues in the dining room, right? Meals are always hot, meals are timely, you can get it in and out fast, the selection's good. I think you'll naturally pull some people out of their homes to come in and dine. So that's how you decrease to-goes. But I also think there's a population that no matter what you do, at this point, like their lifestyle is, they stay at home, they don't engage in activities, they need their meals delivered. So part of us is like, how do we engage that group, and how do we cater to that group as well, in terms of providing good to-go meals and accurate and not insanely costly. So yes, we do look at that, but I think that's probably one of those things we'll have to tackle in this kind of work as well.
And so I was thinking if they're handled separately, as looking at it as two different functions, rather than the crossover between people handling food for the dining room, people packing up things to go, and last minute stuff, it might smooth things out a little bit.
Yeah, we can definitely look at that and share kind of how that works. Right now, it kind of,
two tracks.
from a cooking perspective, it is come out of the same source, but then there's two different handlers. There are dedicated people for to-goes. But we can talk more about that as well. From a survey perspective, though, it lumps it all together. So unfortunately, I can't pull that aspect out of it.
Go back to Joyce's question about online ordering. That came up at the committee, and the committee suggested that you do a small class. The committee suggested that you do a small class with just them.
Okay.
And maybe we can get some of the bugs out of it.
Okay.
And so that's just a suggestion.
Okay, we'll do that. We'll get our guinea pigs together, do a little class, and then we'll do some testing. Man, Isabel's gonna get her steps in today.
First impressions mean a lot. And since we're very interested in attracting people to Village on the Green, I was wondering if that clock tower, whatever you want to call it, is a done deal? Or is there any room for suggestion?
Just speaking honestly, I think it's a done deal. I'm just happy it's not a guard tower.
I think that's a
It's the one
shame,
silver line.
because somebody's got to get up there and set the clock once or twice a year.
Once a day, Jose has promised he's gonna ring that bell like Quasimodo. Yeah.
It just seems so.
That's where my time clock is.
That's right, it's on team members' clock cameras.
I just want to know, is there an update on the kitchen renovation?
So kitchen renovation, we have about $1 million in this year's capital budget for it. That's a lot, but might not be enough. And from a timing perspective, kind of Mark and I have discussed, we're gonna open that project this year because there's some equipment we have to have. The range is pretty much kaput. One of the ovens is, and we just need to buy that equipment. Which is in that budget, so that opens it and then it earmarks the project. Because like with windows, technically A buildings money is from last year, but we're carrying it into this year. We're gonna do that. We're gonna plan for next year because that really, things I did not take into consideration that we'll have to budget for: temporary kitchens. You bring in basically a trailer full of kitchen equipment, portable coolers. All of that is obscenely expensive. So we need to have a really good plan in place before we start moving forward with that. So work will begin, our work has begun. We've got our kitchen layout basically set up right now, because that's what we're buying the equipment to, so we're not buying stuff we won't use once we get the new kitchen. But really, when that work will be done is probably next year, and that's gonna be one where there's gotta be a lot of communication on what does the culinary program look like when this kitchen goes down. Joy? It's coming, right?
Yes, the new entryway project, are the designers the same ones who designed the library and the annex?
Are you talking talking about like the interior design or the architect?
Any of it.
There's certainly some common thing.
Well, see, here's the thing, there's one
Or,
commonality.
and did they learn from all their mistakes?
You know this is recorded, Joy. I can't. This is like testimony. So it's different architects. Technically, these architects all report to the same life space architect. So that is the commonality to which Anne refers to. I'm gonna plead the fifth. Can I do that? Can I plead the fifth?
Be careful, I can say it, but
You can. Back to Steve afterward. He'll say what I'm thinking. Plead the fifth.
it's the same lead person who designed it.
Duck out here real quick. Okay. I will not belabor this one too much, but I will say, so obviously a lot of damage down south with some of these rains in Miami, some of our communities in Delray, leaks, power outages, internet outages. I love having a support center, but the support center being in Texas, they think it's Armageddon. And the Florida EDs are like, it does rain here and it does flood from time to time. So, but I feel remiss not to remind you, we are in hurricane season. And I'm sure you've read the news reports. It is shaping up to be a spicy one. I think the first one, Alberto, might be forming in the Gulf of Mexico right now. They're looking at that. But I think it's going to be a busy year for us. So I just want you to be aware from an internal perspective, we've done 2 drills already, working through internally what do we as Village on the Green team members do to make sure that our community is ready for a hurricane. And that's everything in looking at who's assigned to work, who's assigned to be relief, what are the status of our drains, how do our roofs look, where do we have low points that we know we need sandbags, how are our generators, what our fuel agreements look like. So we have a pretty extensive checklist that we're working through. There are things that you can do because especially in independent living, those that are in the villas, we're gonna have team members here, we're gonna be checking up on you, but at some point when winds get to be too high, really the only person who might be able to reach you is 911 services at that point. There's a point where I have to pull security out of the golf carts, otherwise they're gonna be off to Kansas or wherever. So there are things that we kind of just remind you, and a lot of information I've added to Touchtown. There's a hurricane preparation area under administration, and that has a lot of useful links. I use the National Hurricane Center to see a lot of the projections. WDBO's got a link on there. Red Cross has a great home preparation checklist. But it's, for those who've been in Florida, you know the drill. You gotta have your important documents in a safe place, hopefully watertight if possible. You need to have your medications on hand. Anytime there's a hurricane coming, typically the governor will declare an advance state of emergency, which gets you access to 30-day supplies of medications right out of the gate. So, those are things to keep an eye on. So if you've got those medical needs, Wendy is a resource. If you have something that is power dependent, if you have mobility issues and you're concerned about if the elevators are out and getting down, Wendy's going to be making her phone calls and updating her checklist, but it's also good for you to proactively let her know as well, hey, I might need this support. Part of our preparation is also this room, the Longwood room, is on generator, air conditioning, power. So if there are people who lose power in the villas that need to come here because they need their CPAP machines or they need their oxygen concentrators, we make efforts to make sure that we can provide sleeping quarters and be able to feed folks and have hygiene products and all that. But we also ask that you be prepared as well, because you know you better than we do. So I want to make sure you're as comfortable as possible. So really this is just kind of a reminder. Do your checklist, Dick.
Yeah, not long ago, we had an experience where the kitchen became inoperable, and there was not a backup to feed all the people here. They sent us to the Heron Club. That food was used up in a very short order, and there were people here that had no food provided, is to hope there's a backup system in the future.
So from a backup perspective, there are like certain regulatory requirements that we have to have a certain amount of emergency food on hand. So there's a calculation based on how many skilled nursing, memory care, assisted living residents that you have, and team members as well. And we always err on the side of additional caution. So when it comes to feeding, are we regulatorily obligated to cover all independent living residents? No, but I know that I need to take care of you. But at the same time, I do also ask that, it's gonna be a pared down menu, it's gonna be, those eggs, those are not fresh cooked eggs, folks. That is a batch of powder that just got water in it, the standards start to change a little bit when you get into those situations. We have good relationships with our food providers, and I'll be honest, even through Ian, granted as a different community, the first person to show up even before emergency response was our Cisco truck. Now, we had to hand carry all that stuff in. But I mean, really, it has to be really, really bad for us not to have food. Really, really, really bad. That's like a 5 has just run through here, And then at that point, we all got bigger problems, But I feel pretty good about where we are from our food and vendor supplies. Yeah?
Joey, in the past, we hosted other southern communities, life space southern communities, and I believe you spoke to that once before. I don't think we're on tap for that.
We are not on tap for that. So the South Florida communities have a contract with Disney, so they will be going to Disney resorts if they have to evacuate from South Florida. Yep.
Yes, that is what you said.
Which I'm thrilled for.
Yeah.
Because it's
it's a lot of work.
I'd rather focus just on it.
It was a tremendous.
But when you get another community in there,
tremendous.
they say they bring stuff, and you're like, do you bring stuff? Do you have staff? I don't know the residents. We technically do have agreements with other skilled nursing facilities. It is a requirement that you have at least 2 to be able to say, yes, if something happens to my nursing home, we're gonna move to this nursing home. In reality, that's not how it works. So why we even have that requirement, I don't know, but, and actually they've activated, so it's called, I don't know what it stands for, it's HFRS. So it's a statewide system that reports straight to the governor's office at 10 a.m. every day during an event. And we're in an event for Invest 90 right now. Every skilled nursing facility has to report your census, availability of beds, and the needs of your residents. Who has oxygen, who can't transport in a wheelchair, who has to go by stretcher, all of that every day. Because ultimately, the state is making that. They may call me and they say, hey Joey, I see you got 2 beds. I got 2 nursing home residents coming from such and such place, and you're gonna take care of them. That's how it works. So really how it used to work in the past, where you'd have an agreement ED to ED and another community would come, that's really not how it works anymore. Now what the state does, the state really does not like to put people in a room like this that have skilled nursing needs or memory care needs or AL needs. They want people in a unit, in a bed that has all of the support systems. So it has changed in the last couple of years quite a bit. So I really don't think you're gonna see busloads of people rolling in here using us as shelter. Really, our shelter, this Longwood room, is for units getting flooded, losing power, people need to come here. People just being scared and wanting to be in this building, that's what this is gonna be for. Yeah, good questions. Les?
Do you have involvement with the Seminole County Emergency Operations Center?
Yeah, so actually, I'll say Seminole County is probably one of the best outfits I've worked with from a county perspective, from emergency response. In fact, Jose, Missy, just went to one of their conferences, and we're required to participate in 2 of their community-wide drills per year. And that's basically, they're bringing everybody together from hospitals, nursing homes, home health providers, EMS, fire, police. They're bringing everybody together and doing basically a tabletop drill. So we just did that. I think we have another one in the fall with them. Steve Lerner is the executive director there. He's a great guy, super responsive. they have expectations of us that we have to have certain things in order, but they've also made very clear they're a resource for us, so if we ever have any problems, we can give them a call for any assistance. So we have a good relationship with them, and they do a really nice job. Hope to never have to use them, but Bridget?
When we moved in, we were told that the villas would be supplied with generators should there be long-term power outages. Could you clarify that for us, please?
Ooh, that's a new one, Richard. There are no current plans to be able to do that for villas, providing generator power.
Should the residents of the villas want their own generators? Is that something that's permissible?
That's a very good question. I don't think I've ever had anybody offer to do that. I'm getting a finger wag, so let me do a little research on that and circle back with you on it.
Thank you.
Yeah. That's a new one. That's a new one. But I get it. I've got a generator at home. I mean, I know. No, I got gas ready to go.
I'm pretty experienced with having a generator and running it during emergency situations. The big problem is gas storage. There's got to be a safe place for that. And in the past, when I had a home, I stored it in my garage, but I was very uncomfortable with having 30 gallons of gasoline in my garage.
Yeah. And let me get some information before folks go buying generators. Time out on that one. Okay. What else did I have? Okay, so next meeting is different. It's July 18th due to the 4th of July holiday, pushing the resident council meeting back, and then I'm traveling all over the place. It's a Wednesday. No, it's not a Wednesday. I want to say it's a Thursday. Thank you. So that's a typo, but it is July 18th. Thursday, July 18th.
Thursday, July 18th.
Yep. And?
Oh, was it my turn?
It is your turn.
Thursday, July 18th.
You want me to stay close? I'll stay over here if you need me.
Well, let's see.
Okay.
Let's see, and this is on the computer too, isn't it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, first of all, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. These slides were slides that Basil provided for this meeting to go over what happened at the resident council during, at the last meeting. And so I'll just, you can read as well as I can. As you know, we did get a response from Life Space Community to our long letter. And they accepted that. Then we did another letter narrowing our, shall I say, grievances down to 2 major points. We sent that to them, and they responded to that with an email on June 7th. And that letter was addressed to the entire resident council. And from that, there's going to be a meeting on July 22nd with the new Life Space chairperson, Danita Field, and CEO Jesse Jansen, and our entire council are invited to that. That's going to be at 8:30 to 10 a.m. in the Longwood Room on Monday, July 22nd. I don't think it says it here, but it is. Now, the other thing that Basil will be sending out some information to the council members on ways he wants us to be prepared for that meeting, of course. And we all have quite a bit of background on it, but we'll do our homework because that is indeed the first time that I know of that we have gotten their attention to the point that the highest people in Life Space are going to come and sit down and talk to us. And so we've got to be working toward some kind of a mutual respect for one another and a solution to whatever our grievances are, and feel like we're moving forward on a right path that suits us. So we have a lot of work to do to prepare for that. The other thing Basil wanted to cover was philanthropy at Village on the Green. Now, at the council meeting, what did I write down here? Basil concurred with Joey's nomination of me to be head of the Foundation Advisory Committee. He announced that at the council, and then just yesterday, Joey told me that the Lifespace Foundation Director, Kurt Geilo, approved that nomination of me. So here I am. I'm your new. And I must say, I know very, very little about the Foundation Advisory Committee. It's been sort of off my radar. I've known about it, but it's composed of so many different groups, funds. Some are Lifespace endowed funds, some are restricted funds, some are this, that, and the other thing. And this is what Joey and I are setting about learning. We've got a meeting coming up on June 27th that will involve Joey, the director Kurt Geilo, and a few of us that will try to sort through this and make some sense of it. I'm supposed to be changing things here, aren't I? Oh, not necessarily.
The next one's foundation. That's what you...
Yeah, I want to, let me go back just a second, because before I get to further stuff on the foundation, Basil wanted to mention the scholarship fund, the Brady Wilkins, which is another one of our philanthropic efforts, of course, here, and the fact that we did have a very, very successful awards dinner. A door hanger came out, I guess that was this morning, didn't it? The one that shows the picture of the graduates and the things that went on there, to thank everybody for attending and all your wonderful donations to that. And I also put some pictures on the little photo thing that's there across from Sue that shows the kids at the table blowing bubbles and having fun. I thought that would be enjoyable. And I talked about our next meeting with Kurt Geilo, so we're all set on that. Now, from my perspective, the Foundation Advisory Committee is part of the overall philanthropic community here at Village on the Green. And that we're a part, the Team Member Appreciation is a part, and the Brady Wilkins Scholarship Fund at Central Florida Foundation are all a part. And so, you know, what, I don't know, I get carried away with my logos. This is my logo for the Foundation Advisory Committee. I think the Team Member Appreciation Fund should have their logo. Brady Wilkins should have their logo. Something, I said logo, something so that we sort of know who we're addressing when we're addressing our checks in support. But anyway, we'll have more on that. The next step for the council, having put their focus on the Brady Wilkins, now the council's going to turn its attention to the Team Member Appreciation Fund. So you'll be hearing more about that and how we can support that. And then the other thing I want to mention is that going back to the Basic Advisory Committee, prior to being really organized, but approved by Lifespace Foundation, we're going to initiate a fundraising drive today in support of a pool chairlift in Al Porter's honor. Now, this was a resident suggestion. It seemed like a very appropriate something for the Foundation Advisory Committee to address supporting. And I talked to Marjorie. Of course, we didn't want to go forward with anything if Marjorie didn't want it, but she was just thrilled with the idea. Therefore, but Joey and I will see to it that the proper paperwork is put in place, won't we, Joey? Because I say we're still not quite organized. But I've done this flyer or handout for you all It's at the front desk. There are many copies. Sue has them for you. And it says basically how you can donate to this particular fund. Now again, you know, we've all got these funds that we're asking for money. Each one will be a little bit different. But overall, donations can be made to any of the Foundation Advisory Fund things by credit card, charging to your monthly statement, stock gifts, anything, and you can arrange that through Javier in the business office. We don't accept cash, but checks can be made out in the way that I have pictured on this. They're made out to the Life Space Foundation at Florida, at Village on the Green, and down in the note say general use in memory of Al Porter. So any check you write would go directly to that chairlift. Now this is a chairlift that our plant committee had been researching for quite some time, because that's an overall thing that we do need here at Village on the Green. But with Al's passing and everything, and just that heartfelt warmth that we all felt for Al, we felt this would be a tangible thing to honor Al. And so we're happy to do that, and we'll be happy to have your contributions to that. Yes?
And where would the chairlift go? Is it a portable one?
Well, it can be moved, but no, it is permanently affixed. It's up toward the where the fountain is at the pool. It's on the side of the pool. If you're standing here looking, it's up toward where you would rinse off in the shower and where the little hot tub thing is. And it's drilled right into the concrete. But if we ever change the pool or do anything in the future with improvements in our landscaping and totally do a new pool somewhere, that thing can be moved elsewhere. So, you know, it's a sort of a permanent investment that we would do. I think you've landed on one particular one, haven't you? Yeah. So a lot of homework has been done already. Yes, Joe?
Yes, do you have a figure of how much this would cost?
Shall we speak to what your plan is for that?
Sure. So the lift that we have spec'd, like installed, I think the quote is $7,200. So we're kind of ballparking $8,000 altogether, because they do have to remove some of the pavers. So putting some of those pavers back probably will bring up a little bit extra. So we're targeting $8,000, and just kind of piggybacking on Al's chairlift. Part of that will also come from Village on the Green, because we had kind of earmarked for doing this project, so we kind of see this as in partnership. So we're not looking necessarily for all of the funds to come through donation, but basically what is donated will go towards that, and then we'll definitely make up any shortfall there is to be able to make sure that it happens.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. We wanted to get this out quickly because we've had several offers for donations, and here, you know, I wasn't quite organized yet to even know what to tell somebody to write it out to. So anyway, we've sort of rushed ahead with telling you how to make out a check and everything, and we'll go from there. Now, also in Al's honor, our council did award him our highest citation, I guess you would call it, the Phyllis Lieblich Resident Service Award. That was given to Marjorie and the family at the Celebration for Life last Saturday. But the chairlift would be a tangible thing. Are there any other questions? Yes.
Yeah, and I was just wondering, since the pool is salt water, is the chairlift rated for that kind of environment? Because it's very corrosive.
I'll get you the specifications on the chairlift.
Okay, thank you.
There were other questions about whether people in need of the chairlift would have to have an attendant with them. I know
It is self-operating, so it's intended to be used, you know, so if you needed it, you could use it yourself and operate it. If you wanted somebody to operate it for you, you know, it can be be done that way as well. The remote's detachable, but it's intended to really make it as easily usable for an individual user as possible.
Let's see if whatever Basil, what else he had to say. Well, I've done that too. Questions, we've done that? Well, you all, I think we may have concluded our meeting. Would you like to adjourn?
Yeah.
Thank you all very much.